Okay, let's dive right in. Welcome back to another Explainer, where we're digging into the most fascinating updates from June 17th, 2026. Now today, we're taking a bit of a unique path. We aren't just going to look at isolated events. Instead, we are going to connect the dots across biology, health, climate, and global cooperation. We're literally journeying from microscopic discoveries in the forests of India all the way out to massive, multinational defense exercises in the sky. It's a lot of ground to cover, so let's get started.
Here is our agenda for today's Explainer. First, new species in India. Second, advancements in human health. Third, climate and viral shifts. And fourth, international defense cooperation.
Starting us off with Section 1, New Species in India.
Okay, so before we name this first new discovery, you have to understand what a lynx spider is. These guys are basically the elite athletes of the spider world. Rather than spinning webs and just lazily waiting around for dinner to arrive, they are active hunters. They rely on incredibly sharp vision and lightning-quick movements to actually stalk and pounce on their insect prey.
And that brings us to the discovery. Researchers have just identified Hamataliva malingot in the East Khasi Hills region. Taking its name from Malingot village, this marks the very first time this active hunting genus has ever been recorded in the state of Meghalaya. It really goes to show just how many secrets this rich local ecosystem is still hiding from us. Pivoting from spiders over to plants, our next discovery is a bryophyte. If you need a quick refresher, bryophytes are the minimalist artists of the plant kingdom. They're simple, non-flowering plants that usually thrive in damp, lush environments, like stream banks or forest floors.
Well, this new plant from Kerala acts like an incredibly picky roommate. It's called Indocolea devendra, discovered in the northern forests of Kerala, and it isn't just a new species. It represents an entirely new genus in India. It was named in honor of Devendra Kumar Singh, who is a renowned expert in non-flowering plants. But here's the truly wild part about this specific bryophyte: its living arrangement. It absolutely refuses to grow anywhere else except right on top of one specific type of mushroom on tree trunks, the Felinus fastidiosus. Talk about finding your hyper-specific ecological niche, right?
Looking at these two finds side by side really highlights the vast, incredible biodiversity of the Indian subcontinent. Think about it. Up in the northeast, you have this highly mobile, active hunting spider. Down south, you have a static, incredibly specialized plant that only lives on one type of mushroom. Two entirely different survival strategies, separated by thousands of miles.
Moving right along to Section 2, Advancements in Human Health.
Let's shift gears and zoom inward to the human gut. Crohn's disease is a chronic inflammatory bowel disease that typically targets the end of the small intestine and the beginning of the large intestine. Because it drives deep, chronic inflammation right into the bowel layers, mapping its exact cellular behavior has been a massive scientific hurdle. But it's a hurdle researchers absolutely need to cross to effectively treat the debilitating pain it causes. And here is the real game changer: 50. Researchers have just mapped changes in gene activity across more than 50 different gut cell types to better understand Crohn's. Let that sink in for a second. The human gut isn't just one monolithic type of tissue. By looking at how gene activity shifts across more than 50 distinct types of cells, scientists now have an unprecedented high-resolution map of exactly how Crohn's disease operates. This is a foundational leap forward, guys. It's the kind of mapping that could lead to highly targeted, much more effective therapies for anyone suffering from this intense condition.
Okay, zooming back out for Section 3, Climate and Viral Shifts.
Let's talk about the Usutu virus. Historically, this virus has been strictly anchored to the warm climates of Africa. It was first identified way back in 1959 near the Usutu River, and it's primarily spread by the Culex pipiens mosquito. For decades, scientists studied it strictly within the context of those warm, tropical environments where these specific mosquitoes naturally thrive. So you can imagine why this next part caught scientists completely off guard. The virus has now been detected in the historically chilly, wind-swept environments of Scotland. Yes, Scotland, a pathogen that relies entirely on warm weather mosquitoes, is now successfully operating in a place we once considered entirely inhospitable to it. And the way they discovered this geographic shift is actually pretty tragic. The virus was found precisely because local Scottish blackbirds were suddenly dying off. The poor birds were exhibiting horrific symptoms. We're talking extreme weakness, total disorientation, and literally twisted necks before ultimately dying. It's a very harsh, real-time example of how shifting global climate zones can introduce new, devastating threats to local wildlife populations that have absolutely zero natural immunity.
Finally, let's look up to the skies for Section 4, International Defense Cooperation.
We are leaving local wildlife behind and looking at Exercise Pitch Black. This is the flagship international flying exercise of the Royal Australian Air Force, and it happens every 2 years. It gets its rather dramatic name for a very literal reason. They use the cover of absolute darkness for tactical training. The Air Force utilizes the vast, completely unpopulated stretches of the Australian outback to simulate intense, low-visibility scenarios that are absolutely essential for modern aerial defense.
Now, here's a number to help you wrap your head around the massive global scale of this event running from July 20th to August 7th. 18. India will be joining Australia alongside 18 other nations. Think about that for a second. That's 20 different nations in total. That represents a truly staggering logistical and diplomatic undertaking. Trying to coordinate the communication and complex tactical movements of 20 different air forces in the pitch dark is a massive feat of modern defense readiness.
So, to wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with this thought. The world is incredibly dynamic, so stay curious. We've traveled from a tiny, lightning-fast spider in Meghalaya and a super picky plant in Kerala, through the incredibly complex genetic maps of human gut cells, up to a warm-weather virus somehow adapting to cold Scottish skies, and finally out to a massive 20-nation military exercise in the absolute pitch black of night. It all just proves that whether you're looking under a microscope or up at the stars, the world is constantly shifting, evolving, and waiting to be understood. What are we going to discover tomorrow? Thank you so much for joining me. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you in the next one.